Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. It is episode 3000.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And 3034. On today's podcast, I have a guest, and that really has not happened in a long time. When I've had a guest on my show that's not one of the cafe characters that you probably know, like this person. Hello, this is Chely Shoehart, the show supervisor. What am I doing at the beginning of this show called
Mike's Daily Podcast?
Chely, well, I'm going to be busy talking with Nathan, so I thought I'd get you out of the way here at the beginning of the show.
Mike's
Thank you, Mike Matthew.
Daily
And this guy, too.
Podcast.
Oh, Mike!
Yeah!
This is Floyd the Floorman! And this is John Deere, the engineer. It's very odd to be here at the beginning of the podcast. Usually we're towards the end. Yes. Well, that's because today we have Nathan McEuen. You might go, oh, who? Who on earth is that? Well, I have interviewed him before. In fact, I wrote a little description about Nathan. If you go to my website, mikesdailypodcast.com, where you can see the podcast picture for today, which I don't know what it is. I'll figure it out in 30 seconds. But if you go where at the beginning of the website, mikesdailypodcast.com, and you see where it says home, if you click on that or hover your cursor, whatever, over it, it'll say interviews, and you want to go interviews M through, I think, S. And I alphabetize by the first name. So Nathan McEuen is in here, even though I don't know why his picture isn't popping up, but yes, he is the son of John McEuen of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Do a gobble jangles and he'd sing for you. And I'm going to talk later to him about how I can never remember lyrics, but and then It's a Long Hard Road and Fishing in the Dark. Nitty Gritty Dirt Band had all these songs, and we're a huge band. And he is involved still with his father, who was played the guitar and violin for Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And the podcast picture is not of Nathan, and the reason why is whenever I post a picture of any of the people I interview, invariably somebody tells me to take it down. And you can't use that picture without permission. Well, how do I get permission? Well, it's a long thing. So instead, in the, let's say that it'll be something Californian, because we talk about California and the music that came out of California, that came from the band Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, that came from him Nathan McEuen, when he lived in Ventura and all of that. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about cats. Sorry, Lake Great Basil the Boxer. We don't really talk about dogs, but we'll talk about all kinds of fascinating things and about how do you make music in this crazy world. Let's get into an interview now. And I start off this interview telling him a little bit about the show called Mike's Daily Podcast. It kind of is a bit reminiscent of when I was on K-Hey back in the day, and I was on a show called the Santa Fe Cafe, and your brother was on it once. Actually, your dad came in with Phil Salazar once.
Nice.
And did a couple songs that instrumental stuff of Blew Me Away. It was amazing. And
Sounds like a whole family affair. You know?
They all came through K-Hey. So I've been doing this podcast since I'm on episode 3034. So it's I guess 2009.
I say almost, yeah.
16 years almost.
Wow. That's congratulations. Awesome. Well, it's good to be back.
And you were on last, and the interview has begun. Ta-da!
All right.
Let's see. You were back when you were touring with your brother John and your father. I'm sorry, your dad John, your brother Jonathan. I'm hoping everybody still goes by those names. And it was the McEuen Sessions, and you played at Café du Nord in San Francisco.
Yeah, that was back in 2012. We had produced a record together for the first time as a family and had a lot of fun and some good successes that year, touring cross country, promoting it, and and in my life, that was probably the seventh or eighth. No, that was the seventh album I had produced at that point, and I felt like, it was about time we finally captured the whole family experience that we've been sharing together since we can all remember, basically, my brothers and I and my father. I mean, the first time I stepped foot on stage was when I was 5 years old. First time I was touring with my father was when I was 9 weeks old.
Wow.
So I just kind of have known traveling and touring and music and production and movies my whole life, and just and have dabbled in various departments in that, or just all over the show business realm. I've been kind of just working all angles, so to speak.
And the whole, it's amazing because, people don't think bluegrass when they think of California, but there's so much of that sound. There's a radio station kind of close to me here in the Bay Area called KKUP, and they have a lot of bluegrass bands come through, and I walked in and sat in on one of the performances, and I'm thinking in my head, well, this feels very nitty-gritty dirt band to me, and the McEuens and banjos and Steve Martin and all the other stuff I remember from when I lived in Ventura County in Ventura.
Yeah, there's a huge bluegrass connection to Southern, or just to California in general, for sure. There's enough cities and towns with the name hills in them, and there's enough mountain ranges and stuff like that, and creeks, that there's definitely a kindred spirit that happens with the whole bluegrass world. And for me, I've been growing up how I did. Aside from working with family, doing my own solo thing for 20 years now. I am producing movies, and also still kind of like releasing this new album that I have coming out in April is just was just an accident. It was it just happened. Some songs were written. I started performing them when I was touring live. People were asking for them, and so and then I recorded them, and here I am releasing an album that thankfully this company, Mesa Blue Moon Records, heard the songs, and they decided they wanted to release them with me. And in this day and age, it's kind of unheard of to sign any sort of record deal with anyone, but they still happen to be signing. They signed me anyway, and their distributions through Virgin Music Group, and they're printing CDs and all that stuff. So I'm just really excited because, aside from working with family, and I just did a couple of shows with my father last month, which is, it's still something we do off and on, and maybe a few times a year. I'm just super excited to kind of brag about my newest thing, which is I don't know if you've ever heard of a man named Mason Williams. Mason Williams.
Classical Gas.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah.
That came out the year I was born.
Oh, nice.
But I know I love that song.
Yeah, so Classical Gas. You may well know he wrote for the Smothers Brothers and did some writing for Saturday Night Live, and through the years he's just kind of been this figure that anyone in the business who's a writer seems to really have a heart for. Mason. Oh, Mason, yeah. So when and including myself, I'm a total fan. Growing up how I did, I became a fan of Mason, and I first met him when I was 17, just in passing, and through touring with my dad, and then and just kept in touch, and saw him a couple other times, and he would send me he sent me a signed Classical Gas sheet music, and I was just like, wow. Exactly. I was just like, wow, this guy's so cool. And then just out of the blue, when I was about 7 years ago, I just called him. Hey, Mason, would you be willing to write a song with me? And he, to my surprise, he said, sure, come up to my house. And he invited me up to his house and let me stay there for a week. And for that entire week, he and his wife Karen, but Mason, he mentored me, and he showed me all about writing. And he in his office, his studio where we worked, it's just like everything was so like meticulously categorized, and like his method of working was just, he could go back to like his earliest writings in the 60s, and they're on. Anyway, it's like a library. It's one of the. It was so inspiring to see how how organized this was, and then also how funny everything he does, how much comedy and how much and how much love there is in all of his writing, and whimsy, and it's just I couldn't believe that he invited me into his house and wanted to write a song with me. And to my surprise, we ended up writing one for the goal. I'm working on this movie currently. The goal is to write a song for this movie I'm working on. We completed that goal, but we had some extra time. And we started on another song with some chords and just a little melody kind of, and then put it in the back burner for a while. And then some time went by. I didn't have the song finished. I met my wife. A few years went by. I recently got married.
Oh, congratulations.
Why, thank you. I appreciate it. Super excited about that because I never thought that would happen in my long story short.
Oh.
But I... And
you wrote a song for her.
So I ended up having the inspiration I needed for the lyrics and writing the song for her. And the title track of the album is My One and Only. Oh. It's the song that I played for the label that they wanted, the reason the record deal was signed. And it's the whole entire, it's an EP, so it's a 5-song album EP that's going to be released in April. The whole thing is dedicated to her. So I'm just very excited to have something to put out there. And I'm delighted that Mason worked on it with me and a couple of other friends of mine. I mean, I ended up working with hiring a group of guys, a band, and just had some fun re-recording some of my more popular songs.
Who's in your band?
Well, for this album, I have for the My One and Only song, it's just me on guitar and Chris Caswell on piano. And Chris Caswell, he also helped me orchestrate some of the music on this album. And you may have heard of Chris's music through the years. He's in his 70s now. I think he's 70, and he's known for doing the Muppets music. He wrote the Alvin and the Chipmunks theme song for the We Hear the Chipmunks, and he did a bunch of songs he worked with Daft Punk. We're Up All Night to Get Lucky, that whole album. Random Access Memories, he orchestrated with them. He did the Tron soundtrack. He's worked with so many people through the years in the business, and it's another person I couldn't believe that wanted to work with me on this. So on the first track, he's on that song playing piano, and then on the rest, on a few of the other tracks, I have Jimmy Colery, Mario Colery, and Randy Tico.
I remember hearing about the Colerys when I lived in Ventura all the time. Did you have something to do with Wallflowers?
So Mario, Jimmy is Mario's father, and Jimmy is a fantastic piano player. He played with America, and toured with some other people through the years. But he's fantastic. And Mario, his son, ended up touring and being in the Wallflowers for a while, and also Ozo Motley and Mario.
That's right.
I'm happy to call him my friend, and he's joined me on a few of the tracks on drums. And then Jesse Siebenberg, who is another Ventura County, I don't know exactly where he was born, but I've known him since I was 12, actually, from when we all lived in the Salt Lake Valley in Salt Lake County together in Utah.
Oh, wow.
But Jesse, he's lived in Ventura for I think 30 years now. Anyway, so Jesse, he's joined me on a couple of the tracks, and He's known for playing drums in like everybody's band, and he also toured with Supertramp for a while with his father in the band Supertramp.
Oh,
And then in addition to Jesse, there's one track, Beautiful Night, that I've remixed and remastered that my father, John McEuen, and my brother, Jonathan, are joining me on. So I thought, why not keep family on one of the tracks, keep them close. And so I think it's a pretty well-rounded representation of my more popular songs and a couple new things that I've written. And I'm excited, Mason, Williams. I couldn't believe he said yes when he wanted to record. I was also really just, I was going to say that.
Mason,
I forgot. It doesn't. I'm bouncing around. I'm rambling on. Please.
No,
please.
I wanted to say that Mario Cleary, actually, he used to play at a church that my ex-wife went to. He would play with the worship band, and I remember my ex-wife saying, "Oh, Mario Cleary, I know him." I'm like, "You know the guy from the tours with the Wallflowers and Ozo Motley?" And yeah, so I remember hearing the names. And well, you've got such a good blend. I mean, you've got on this album everything from classical glass to Tron. You've got all these fantastic influences, Supertramp to
my heritage, my background. It's
Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Having a lot of fun with just working with people that I don't know.
Can I ask you how I noticed on YouTube there were so many videos of people filming you singing the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band song, It's a Long Hard Road. Mm-hmm. And how do you remember all the lyrics to that? That's got like 25 verses. It seems like a million words in that song. That's a song that it's requested a lot by fans because I did record that with my father on that McEuen Sessions album. I have a lot of fun taking that around with me because I feel like that's a soundtrack of my life. And when you ask how do I remember that, well, it's because I first heard it when I was 3.5 years old. And I've been hearing that song my whole life because back in the early 80s, and the story I tell when I go around playing is I basically say this is like a soundtrack of my life. This is a song that's very close to my heart. I don't know where I would be without a song like this. And as I tell the story about how the song A Long Hard Road happened, Rodney Crowell, who wrote the tune, he ended up sending the demo to my father and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band in the early 80s because the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band was looking for a new song to record that they wanted to try to get on number one on the country charts with. Yeah. Because they were just going to go for it. They were just they found this song, A Long Hard Road. And I remember it in demo form when it was Rodney and his voice and Roseanne Cash singing the harmony, and that was it. Oh. And then I remember a few months later the Dirt Band had recorded it. And I was like, wow, that sounds awesome. I was excited. I was about 4 when I heard the Dirt Band's recording. A couple months later, I heard the song on the radio in the car. I'm like just a 4-year-old kid not knowing what's going on, right? This is just the world. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And the song's on the radio in the car. And at the time, I was living at up the hill from Red Rocks outside Morrison, Colorado. We were living in Evergreen. So about 20 miles up the mountain from Red Rocks. So I remember going to Dad's work because we often, when Dad was in town playing in Colorado or I was on tour with him, it didn't matter. Whenever we would go to Dad's work, we would often go to Red Rocks because it was so close. I remember going there, sitting on the side of that stage, watching what seemed to be about 10,000 people, about a sold-out crowd, now singing along to the song. So I watched the song go from demo form, record form, hearing it on the radio, and then hearing it hit and seeing the crowd, all of them singing along to that song. Amazing.
So that's how I remember the song so much. I just sing my heart. I just sing what I remember. And it's just like if I, so it's in my, it's that. So songs like that, it's pretty easy for me. Sometimes I do forget though. It's not.
With apologies to Rodney Crowell, you changed the lyrics a little bit.
Yes, exactly. I changed the lyrics to "Daddy plays the banjo" because it's more personal for me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that you're free to do that. That's good.
Yeah.
You have the right to change the words to whatever you want. It's.
I mean nothing by it other than just. I'll admit it.
And are you still in the Ventura County area?
No. Well, a couple months of the year I'm there, but not as permanently as I once was. And right now I'm dotting between. I live in partially part of the year Arizona, part of the year sometimes Colorado, and then California. So. Oh,
wow. Okay. All beautiful places, all beautiful parts of America. That's for sure.
I love them. And being born in Salt Lake City, Utah, I couldn't decide. So I just, and I sometimes visit Utah too. So between Colorado and California, the western states, I tend to hover around, and I don't have a permanent, I guess my permanent residence is in Arizona. So, but that's gonna be for just maybe one more year. So.
Wow. Well, I did not talk to you ahead of time of what song we should play. Well, you've left it kind of up in the air. We don't know exactly, and I don't.
I can send you a couple.
What would you? So right here in the interview, what should I play?
Let me give you "Lately." And you can play the whole thing of that, and then you can brag about. I mean, I can't give you the new single until it's out yet.
Okay,
so, but
right.
Lately, since I've been playing "Lately" for 10 years, and there is a version of this entire song on YouTube. It's free, and it's also on the new album. So it's a good. It's like I guess an appetizer. I don't know what you call it, but
yeah.
I'll send you. Let's feature "Lately" here. You can play the whole thing if you want.
All right, we're going to do the whole thing from start to finish. Here it is. And that is the song called "Lately" by Nathan McEuen. What an amazing artist. He is going to be releasing this album called My One and Only. It's an EP, but it sounds like it's going to be fantastic from all the people that he works with to make this out. And, people just love working with Nathan. All these different musicians from all these different types of music, from these legends from all these different worlds of the music world, that world. Let's say the word world one more time. World. There we go. That's great. So you can find out more about that at his website, nathanmceuen.com. nathanmceuen.com, and that album will be coming out in April. And we'll have more on the next show from Nathan, and he has some fascinating stuff to talk about. Well, he talks about Steve Martin and Malcolm McDowell and other famous celebrities, actors, and other musicians that were very popular in the Ventura County area, where I spent a huge chunk of my life, and where this show is heard actually on a radio station in Camarillo called Camaradio, and it's at 99.1 FM and camaradio.org. But early in the morning at 5:30 in the morning, for those people waking up and they want to hear something odd like this show. But what do you think about this show? You can call me at this number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame. Thank you for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.